Tonight, Broken Hill's $500 million water pipeline set to go ahead. And oyster farmers on the Peninsula battling with the Christmas demand in the wake of a virus.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. A successful tender has been made for Broken Hill's $500 million water pipeline, with the project now set to move ahead. However, the state opposition and the city's mayor continue to oppose the project, saying it's still unclear how much it'll cost ratepayers.
A new pipeline is on its way. Yesterday it was announced John Holland MPC joint venture would design and construct the 270-kilometre River Murray to Broken Hill pipeline. It'll cost $467 million. Thankfully, locals won't have to cover that cost, but they will foot the bill for ongoing operation and maintenance. Water prices will be determined by the Independent Pricing and Regulatory Tribunal.
And IPART looks at a whole range of factors when they look at what a community should be charged for their water. So I'm sure they'll look at all the factors.
The State's Shadow Water Minister came out swinging though.
IPART will only make a determination based on one factor, and that's inflation. They won't make a determination based on ability to pay, and ultimately much of this investment will have to be recouped by the people of Broken Hill.
The Mayor says she was disappointed the pipeline is going ahead, while investigations into water are ongoing.
Do we need to have a pipeline from the Murray River to Broken Hill when the Darling is only 100 kilometres away? The state of the Darling, the health of the Darling is a big concern to us. Now we've seen that there has been no monitoring, no compliance in some of those areas. We're really concerned that what we're seeing is an argument for a pipeline from the Murray to really decommission the Menindee Lake system.
Mr Blair said the state government will not decommission the Menindee Lake system, saying it's a vital asset for the Murray-Darling Basin.
We'll recommission the lakes, not decommission them, and hopefully that'll give us the opportunity to operate them more efficiently, to have more water for longer in the lakes.
Construction of the pipeline will begin next year. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Yet another energy company has its eye on the Upper Spencer Gulf to build a pumped hydro power plant. The group behind the push claims if it's approved, the Goat Hill project could be up and running by 2020.
Another project on the horizon is earmarking our region as the capital for renewable energy yet again.
It's not every day that you actually get a private company just walk in the door and say, "G'day, this is who we are, and by the way, we're about to apply for development application for a pumped hydro power station between here and Wales."
Australian developer Altura Group says it's drafting the design and the feasibility of a pumped hydro project on land 12 kilometres west of Port Augusta in Lincoln Gap.
So we're preparing the project for an investment decision in 2018, so about halfway through, and looking to have the project operational and online at the end of 2020.
Unlike Energy Australia's proposal for seawater-based pumped hydro at Coltana, this 250-megawatt Goat Hill project would pump water between two freshwater dams.
We'll also provide up to 8 hours of storage. So it's very well positioned to provide really reliable, affordable energy into the South Australian grid.
Altura Group says the project would create 10 to 15 ongoing jobs.
But what we really would love to get out of it is an opportunity to meet with the community and explain a little bit about the project and receive some feedback on how the project is being received and give us the opportunity to take all of that into consideration as we finalise the project design and push through the project approvals process.
The company will visit town next month. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Seafood lovers might have to shell out more for oysters this Christmas as farmers battle against a shortfall. Growers are struggling to keep up with supply due to the Tasmanian POMS virus, which is threatening to drive prices up this holiday season.
Seafood is a staple at Australian family tables during Christmas. Delicacies like the Coffin Bay oyster are snapped up by the dozen, keeping retailers like the Fresh Fish Place busy.
The highest demand for oysters is Christmas time. We go through thousands of dozens.
But this year families could be forced to shuck open their wallets a little wider for a taste of the sea.
Prices have already been ratcheting up slowly, incrementally from the start of the shortage. And we could see some more price increases between here and Christmas.
A virus wiping out the industry is said to be the blame, leaving Coffin Bay farmers high and dry without spat to replenish their stocks.
Unfortunately, Tasmania got a virus down there called POMS, Pacific Oyster Mortality Syndrome, and that wiped out a lot of growers down there. The kick on for us is that we were getting 90% of our spat from Tassie.
The impacts have been widespread, hitting farmers on the EP hard.
It varies from some guys having to close their doors completely to guys, losing employees.
But the industry is rebuilding itself. New farms on the Peninsula are now producing spat to make the industry self-sufficient.
South Australian industry needs about 150 million oysters a year.
I'm sure they're doing everything they can to pump out the spat as fast as they can to supply all the oyster growers with what they need.
In the meantime, increased demands over the coming months means consumers are likely to pay more. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Still to come on Southern Cross News tonight, the Eyre Peninsula readies itself for the upcoming fire season. Details next. The fire danger season is set to begin next week for residents living on the west coast. Dry conditions during summer has increased the danger this season, with emergency services urging locals to start thinking about a plan now.
The message is clear.
There's a guarantee this year in South Australia we'll have fires, so there's no doubt about that.
Fire services are urging the public to be ready for not if, but when a fire strikes this season.
Whether they stay and defend or whether they actually leave early. Very important they have their plan in place and be ready for this fire season.
Emergency Services Minister Chris Picton today met with local services on the EP to announce that the fire danger season will begin on November the 1st.
There's the potential that Eyre Peninsula over coming weeks could be facing similar fire danger periods. And we want people to use this time now before that period starts.
The Weather Bureau will also extend to 4-day forecasts, giving those living in rural areas enough time to make life-saving decisions.
Our whole state is always at risk, and there's definite areas that are always could be at risk, Eyre Peninsula being one of them.
But the main plan is to be prepared.
Make sure that their preparations are in place at their properties, and also that they have their plans in place as to what would happen in the case of a bushfire.
The Minister's timely message comes as Elliston battled an uncontained fire near the airport today, a possible sign of things to come.
We have a fire that started by lightning this morning, so the season in some ways has already started.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Police across the mid-north are currently conducting Operation Belt following an alarming increase of fatalities on rural roads over the past year. With the majority of victims reportedly not wearing a seatbelt, officers say they'll be cracking down on those who don't buckle up.
Reducing fatalities on country roads.
Operation Belt was to actively target and enforce seatbelt-related offences through high visibility policing.
Not wearing a seatbelt is now the leading cause of death and serious injuries in car accidents. Motorists and passengers are 10 times more likely to be killed in a crash if they're not wearing a seatbelt correctly or not at all.
So in 2016, 8 vehicle occupants were killed as a result of drivers or passengers not wearing their seatbelts. 6 of those were in rural locations, and to date this year, that fatality rate has increased to 17, of which 11 are in rural locations.
Police say drivers will be held accountable for all passengers travelling in their vehicle.
Regardless of age, and especially with young children as well, they need to make sure that they are restrained in suitable seats.
Officers say it's such a simple task, it should be second nature when getting into the car.
Research has shown that there's a significant increase in the survival rate if a driver or passenger was wearing a seatbelt.
Failing to wear a seatbelt can result in a minimum of a $350 fine, as well as 3 demerit points. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The Sustainable Economy for Regional Australia Conference kicked off in our region today with a researchers forum. The spotlight was on locals who presented their work to educate on the importance of revitalising the regions.
As well as offering business opportunities, the annual SEGRA conference also looks into research projects focusing on regional Australia. Academics and industries from here and interstate gathered in Whyalla to hear about the variety of projects happening in the Upper Spencer Gulf.
Researchers and industry to come together today, particularly to look at what are some of the challenges, what are some of the solutions.
Topics ranging from health infrastructure to fruit flies were presented. Organisers say the local projects are slowly changing people's perception of our region.
Hanging on to the important parts of our past, but we're actually moving ahead into the future, and it's a future that will be featuring new industries, new technology.
However, experts agree it'll require both industry and academia to join forces to turn potential into reality.
Universities need to work with industry to help make their research relevant, so the two together can produce a really good outcome.
UniSA's Whyalla boss says our region's challenges are not uncommon, and networking and sharing ideas is critical.
Keen to explore ways to work together moving forward, and part of today is about identifying some challenges that we want to work together on in the future.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
In the news ahead, the garden in Port Augusta becoming a tourism drawcard. That story next. As Broken Hill City Council continues its dispute with the architect and builders of the town's Civic Centre, a new management specialist has been brought in to oversee the trouble-plagued project. Patrick Reinke has more.
The future of the Broken Hill Civic Centre remains unclear, but a third-party operator could help get things moving. O'Kane Management will act as a superintendent for the project, while council and the centre's architects and builders push on with a legal battle. The city's mayor says all parties have different opinions around how the $5.1 million refurbishment has been delivered thus far. The redevelopment has been a continuous source of frustration for both council and locals, with the project enduring a number of problems from the get-go. At the start of this year, asbestos fell from the roof, forcing the closure of the site while experts conducted air tests. More recently, a number of concerns were raised about lighting, plumbing and the sinks in the bathrooms following the Nationals Party conference and the Civic Ball. The centre has been closed since May, and as a result, many events have either been relocated or cancelled. Despite the many setbacks, it's hoped the new coordinator can right the ship and get it back on course. In a statement to Southern Cross News, O'Kane Management's director said the company is approaching the project with a positive outlook, claiming the centre has a great design and excellent technology. Its task will be to correct the list of the centre's defects and provide the finishing touches to the interior, with an aim to start work in November. Council hasn't put a completion date on the work, saying it won't make promises it can't keep. However, they expect O'Kane to work efficiently and will have a rough date soon.
Whyalla's Road Safety Centre has been nominated for the Fund My Neighbourhood project, with the group looking to reseal the ageing roads. Locals are being asked to vote for the project so it can upgrade the site to ensure generations of kids can be educated about road safety.
If you're a kid who grew up in Whyalla, it's likely you visited the Road Safety Centre. For 40 years, all roads have led to the centre, through either school or one of the many birthday parties held here. For the volunteers who run the place, the aim is simple: preparing kids for the open road.
People can come and bring their kids here, the gates secure the area. Apart from that, its main purpose is bike education for primary kids.
But its road network is showing its age and desperately needs an upgrade.
The stones are coming through, making it hard for little kids to push bikes around. There's tree roots coming up in a couple of sections at the back.
At a cost of $65,000, it's not cheap. It's one of a number of projects vying for funding through the Fund My Neighbourhood program.
It'd be really fantastic if we could win this grant.
Ms Henderson is calling on Whyalla residents to get together and vote to help the centre secure the funds. She says generations of kids have learnt road safety at the site and they want to continue the opportunity.
We want this centre to be here for the next generation. So, get behind us.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
A botanic garden in Port Augusta is proving itself to be a draw card for the town. It's received 2 nominations in the upcoming SA Tourism Awards, and visitors say they're staying in town especially to explore the site.
Garden that's fast becoming a Port Augusta icon. It's been nominated in the Eco-Tourism and the Tourist Attraction categories at the upcoming SA Tourism Awards, which comes as no surprise to those involved in the Australian Arid Lands Botanic Garden.
And it's just a relaxing area, and I think Port Augusta and the surrounding area is so lucky to have something as nice as this that they can bring families out here and they can just run around and have a great time.
Arid Lands has seen a whopping increase of 8,000 visitors in the last 12 months. 25% of those say they stay 3 nights or more just to see the grounds.
You know, you just don't want to stop when you're driving through, so I'm really delighted to have actually made the effort to come to Port Augusta and stay the night and to come here.
And we picked up a book on, tourism book on Port Augusta, and it mentioned the gardens. So it built on that and just said, well, why not?
If you take a walk through the manicured Australian landscape here at Arid Lands, you'll see just how much attention to detail there is. SA Tourism CEO says it's commitment to excellence like this that wins awards.
They're looking for, businesses that are well run, well managed and progressive, innovative, sustainable, all those sorts of cliche words.
The award winners will be revealed on November 10. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Stay with us. After the break, Nicole will have all the local weather details.
Thanks, Fraser. It was a good day to be working indoors with showers right across the region. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. Having a look at the weather now. A bit of a wet and windy day right across the region. The rainy weather continuing in Port Augusta and Whyalla, reaching a top of 33. Still pretty warm in Port Pirie for 32. Just under the 30s for Port Lincoln, hitting 28 and sitting at 28 in Adelaide as well. To the satellite, a bit of patchy cloud crossing South Australia with a weak trough is causing the odd dry thunderstorm in the far west. On the Gulf waters, winds will be south-southwesterly up to 25 knots, seas at around 1 to 2 metres with a south-southwesterly swell. Sunrise a bit earlier tomorrow, just before 6:30. The sun will set at 7:40. A bit of a change up tomorrow with mostly clear skies on the way for the region, seeing the temperature peaking at 30 degrees in Port Augusta. Cooler in Whyalla for 26, 22 in Port Lincoln. Fire crews will be on the lookout in Broken Hill with windy weather reaching 32 degrees and a fine day expected in Adelaide for 24. Looking ahead, the clouds will be clearing, bringing plenty of sunshine to Port Lincoln, heading for a top of 23 by the weekend. The odd shower hanging around Friday in Cleve, but it'll be warm though for a top of 31. Much the same in Woodena, seeing the mercury reach the 30s by the week's end. We're in for a couple of nice days in Whyalla before a bit of wet weather returns later this week, heading for a top of 30 degrees by Sunday afternoon in Port Augusta, and looking like it's clearing up in time for the weekend in Kadina, the sun coming out Saturday for 25. Showers hanging around in Port Pirie as well to wrap up the working week. The sun finding to come through in Clare over the next few days with a bit of cloud cover setting in Thursday and looking like it'll be blue skies Saturday in Broken Hill, reaching a top of 32. So clear skies will be returning in time for the weekend. Fraser.
That's good timing. Thanks, Nicole. And that's the news this Tuesday. Thanks for your company. Hope you can join us again tomorrow. Good night.